Round three started off with a game between the Cats and the Crows. And for the most part, this was a domination from the Cats, starting out the blocks early, kicking 4 goals in the first quarter, and from that point on, dominated the contest. They were leading the clearances 42 to 35 for the game, with Bailey Smith returning back to form, having an outstanding 40 disposals game, with Max Holmes having 27 and a goal. Sean Manor continued his incredible season, having 24 touches and a goal. But it was Jack Martin that really stood up for the Cats, kicking a clutch goal in the fourth quarter to give them an 8 point lead and ultimately hold on to win the game by 8 points. And then on Friday night, we moved on to Collingwood versus GWS, and it was a demolition job from Collingwood. They looked outstanding. They kicked 5 goals in the first quarter and looked to run away with the game. GWS responded with 2 goals in the second quarter to Collingwood's 1, but then the Pies' second half just put the Giants away. Nick Dacos led the way with 36 disposals and 2 goals for the Pies, while Lockie Whitfield and Clayton Oliver tried to carry the Giants, but it wasn't enough. Young fella Oscar Steen made his club debut, taking a really big mark in the goal square, going back and kicking a goal and really showing Craig McRae that he has more options in the ruck this year when they've struggled to find that second tool after losing Mason Cox and Brody Myercheck. So keep an eye out for Oscar Steen this year because he looks like he's going to be a really good player for the Pies going into the final end of 2026. We move into the next game with St Kilda and Brisbane, and the Saints looked like they had the Lions early. They started the game really well, and it looked like the Lions were in a bit of trouble. It was a scrappy first quarter. Not many goals were being kicked, but the Saints got on top of the contest early. It wasn't until the Saints started being sloppy with their ball movement that's when the Lions, Jared Barry, Will Ashcroft, Dane Zorko, and Levi Ashcroft really got a hold of the game. Wanganeen Miller really struggled. He played deep forward for a lot of the game and just couldn't really assert his dominance on the contest. Jack Sinclair's continuing his really good form, having 29 disposals off half-back. And the Saints continue to disappoint after spending a lot of money on their list this year. 1-3. Are you concerned for the Saints this year? Or do you think they'll be able to bounce back? I'm not too sure. They've got a lot of question marks that need to be answered. And we move over to Fremantle versus Richmond in a game that was potentially going to be called off. Cyclone hitting WA put this game over question marks, and the Dockers struggled early. The Tigers managed to make it a game up until halftime, until the Dockers kicked away in the second half. An 8-1 goal second half is what won this game for the Dockers. Shai Bolton having his Fremantle career high in disposals with 33. Caleb Sarong hitting the scoreboard, kicking 2 goals was really good. Jordan Clark continuing his All-Australian form has been really solid down back. And Murphy Reed has been a standout for the Dockers this year, really showing that they've been drafting really well and their player development has been going through the roof. And it was just a dirty day for the Tigers. They've shown glimpses here and there with a few of their young guys. Luke Traynor had a great game for his first game of the year. But it was Essendon and North Melbourne that took the highlights from the weekend of footy. It was a really bad game. A lot of sloppiness, turnovers, poor skill errors. And it was just more like whichever team that wasn't the worst was going to win. And I know that sounds silly, but they were playing that bad that whatever team just was able to hit a target or just be clean with their disposals was going to win this game. And it looked like it was going to be North Melbourne. They had a really great third quarter and really put it on the Bombers. They were up by 5 goals, and then the Bombers really turned it on in the fourth quarter and brought it back with not much time left. It was Colby McKercher, Harry Sheasel, Davey Zuniak, and Luke Parker that carried the way for the Kangaroos. And it was Tristan Cherry that made the headlines. And he appeared to smear blood on the face of his opponent, Andrew McGrath, as you can see. He got cleaned up after the contest, and he had a bit of a blood nose, bit of claret coming out of his nose, and strangely, he wiped it on the face of his opponent. So we're going to be looking at 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even more for Tristan Cherry, which is very bizarre and something that hasn't happened in 25 years. Then we turn our attention to Sunday's games, with Port Adelaide having a shock loss at home to the West Coast Eagles. It was the Power that started the first quarter off, kicking 5 goals and getting a really big lead. It looked like the Power were going to win this game by quite a big margin. And then the Eagles managed to turn the game around in the contest in the second quarter, kicking 5 goals and really dominating the contest from then on. The Power didn't really have any standouts. Zach Butters tried to lift his team but really couldn't. But it was Tim Kelly, Harley Reid, Liam Baker, and Willem Dersma that really got the ball rolling for the Eagles. It was their young player, Jobe Shanahan, that really stood out for me. His composed ball use from the back half, his contested marking, for a 19-year-old, is something that you don't really see very often, and I was really impressed with his game. The Eagles look like they've got a young group that's looking ready to push up the ladder soon, and I'm really excited to see what they can do with the young talent that they have. Melbourne versus Carlton was a game that a lot of neutrals really enjoyed. It was Tom McDonald and Max Gawn's 250th game, and it was a really shit game for the first half. The Dees couldn't kick a goal until the second quarter, and it looked like Carlton finally figured out their game plan under Michael Voss. They kicked 6 goals in the first quarter to Melbourne's one behind. But in the third quarter, as things really turned around for the Dees, they kicked 7 goals to the Blues 2, and Cozzy Pickett was a man on a mission, winning the game for the Dees and really standing up when they didn't have anyone. And for Michael Voss, there's a lot of question marks around his job. Will he continue as Carlton coach, or will he get the sack? Surrey played his best game in Melbourne colours, and Max Gawn really showed why he's the best ruck in the competition, having 58 hitouts, 23 disposals, and showing why he's the best ruck of our generation. And that was the round. Let me know what you guys thought about this week's round of footy. Unfortunately, there's buys pretty much every week, so there's not many games to cover, but I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you in the next one.